It was late spring when I noticed a commotion in front of my garage. Karen, the neighborhood's infamous HOA tyrant, had cornered my teenage son, insisting he had stolen a bike. According to her, he had taken property that didn't belong to him, though anyone with eyes could see the absurdity of the accusation. Karen was waving her arms dramatically, her face red with self-righteous fury. "I saw him take it. That bike is mine. You can't deny it." My son looked bewildered. "Mom's lying. I bought this bike weeks ago. Look at the receipt," he protested, holding up the paperwork. I stepped in calmly, suppressing my irritation. "Karen, this bike is legally owned by my son. He has a receipt, the serial number matches, and there are witnesses who can confirm the purchase." Karen predictably ignored all logic. "Receipts? Witnesses? You're just covering up the truth. I demand the bike." I shook my head and decided to handle the situation with patience and preparation, knowing that Karen thrived on chaos and drama. "Karen, this is harassment. You are making false claims against my son. Any further attempts to interfere will be documented and reported to the HOA." But Karen had already dialed 911, determined to escalate the matter. "Yes, there's a theft in progress. A child stole property that doesn't belong to him. Police need to intervene," she shouted into her phone, flailing her arms for effect. Within minutes, a police patrol arrived. The officers looked at Karen, then at my son, then back at the papers he held. "Ma'am," one officer said patiently, "do you have proof of ownership for this bike?" Karen hesitated, fumbling through her phone, muttering something about a gift and family claim. Clearly, she had no actual documentation. I handed over the receipt and the serial number registration. "Here is the proof. This bike was purchased legally by my son. Any claims otherwise are false." The officer scanned the documents, then looked at Karen sternly. "Ma'am, without legal proof of ownership, these claims are baseless. Making false reports to authorities may constitute harassment or filing a false complaint." Karen's face turned red, and she sputtered incoherently, trying to salvage her argument. But her theatrics were futile. The officers had seen enough, and the receipt and registration left no room for doubt. They politely instructed her to leave and warned that any future incidents would be taken seriously. After she stormed off, I documented the encounter with photos, timestamps, and statements from the officers. I submitted a full report to the HOA, ensuring there was a record of her harassment and false accusations. Within days, the HOA responded, warning Karen that any further false claims or interference could result in fines or suspension. My son, relieved and reassured, carefully secured his bike, while I reflected on the ordeal. Karen had tried to intimidate him, escalate the situation, and involve law enforcement over something that was clearly legal and properly documented. But through calm preparation, evidence, and composure, we had neutralized her aggressive tactics. The incident also reinforced a lesson about entitlement. Karen's repeated attempts to assert control over others' property consistently backfired. Her obsession with perceived slights and imagined rules only served to erode her credibility in the neighborhood. Neighbors who had witnessed her antics quietly acknowledged the absurdity of her behavior and began to distance themselves from her influence. In the weeks that followed, my son rode his bike freely with no interference. Karen made a few attempts to stir trouble elsewhere, but her reputation for false accusations had already taken a hit. My son and I continued our daily routines, now more confident in our right to enjoy our property without fear of harassment. Sitting on the porch that evening, watching my son ride around the driveway, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Karen had tried to assert power, create drama, and intimidate, but preparation, calm evidence, and patience had won the day. My family's peace, our property, and the truth had prevailed, and Karen had learned, once again, the hard way that entitlement and chaos always falter in the face of logic and law.